The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, well, it took a month. But we finally get a victory Monday.
Oh, yeah.
The Bengals they won. They won. And Tom, it's only fair that you walk in. Since I walked in on your show, it's only fair, right? No. So earlier, I came barging in on Tom's show earlier today. I thought Casey was waving at me. Tom, good seeing you. Thank you. No, I come walking in today, and I look. I didn't see Tom was in here. So Casey is like waving at me, like, don't come in. I just thought Casey was so happy to see old Kindog over here. I was all like, man, Casey's friendly today. The Bengals got to win. He's so excited to see. No, he was like, get the hell out. He's like, get out, dude. Yeah. But gentlemen, welcome back. We're going to get to Jacob here in a moment. He had one hell of a weekend. I know you all had one hell of a weekend, but let's start with Casey McAllister. Casey, you seem a little bit more chipper here. This is the happiest I've seen you on a Monday in quite some time.
Yeah, it was just a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Bengals get a win. Offense looks pretty. Defense, not so much. But all I know is that I did my part. I went out and bought a new hat, and I wore it today. This new hat is the reason why we won. The only reason, in fact, because I had a tired combination of just very tired combination of arranged attire, and I needed something new and get the new energy, get the new blood flowing, and this hat was what got us the win.
Well, that was an important win yesterday, even from a hater's perspective. You couldn't lose that one.
No,
you couldn't go 0-4. And I thought that we'll get to the matchup, we'll get to the game in a moment. But I thought that, as easily as they marched the ball down the field, the Panthers being on that opening drive, that goal line stand was absolutely huge. We'll talk about that coming up here in a moment. But we go from one nice, crisp new Bengals hat to another crisp Bengals hat. Is this crisp Bengals hat new, or is this always been in the attire?
No, this is old, but listen, I also get.
I think you wear the hat once a week.
I wear this hat once a week. Yeah, I wear this one, then I wear the Reds one. That I wear. I have two ones, and maybe the Potters one. I switch in there every once in a while. But yeah, I get a lot of people make fun of the B, the logo on the B. I don't hate the B. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I'd rather have the Bengal. I'd rather have the whole tiger, but I don't hate the B. I went into my buddy's house, Lewis's house. He's like, "Hey, your hat sucks." I'm like, "What is that?"
That's rude.
Sounds rude. Kind of disrespectful.
What's his name?
His name's Lewis.
Lewis, come on, dude. That was rude.
And he said, "Listen, your hat's really bad." And I'm like, "That's what their team logo is. That's what the Bengals. We're Bengals fans. That's the Bengal logo." And he says, "No, the Bengal one." He points to his hat, and it's got the big Bengal jumping across his hat. Which is, listen, it's a better hat, but I don't hate the B. Casey, I respect your B hat. I like my B hat. And that's it.
The thing I love about my hat is that, I don't know if you can see it on air, but it's orange stitching. I just thought that's the coolest thing ever. I don't know why.
Orange stitching.
Stitching.
There you go.
I like that a lot. Yeah, it was a pleasant weekend for old Ellie Roo. Ellie Roo watched some football on Saturday. I watched the Bearcats. They fought hard. They fought valiantly. I watched Alabama, Georgia. That was a pretty notable match. And then we had the Bengals on Sunday, and I watched the Ravens wallop the Bills on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it was a good weekend of football, no doubt.
And I watched the Browns lose. I watched the Browns lose because I had money on the Browns because I thought they couldn't possibly lose to the Raiders. Boy, are they terrible.
Yeah.
Jacob's back. So, Jacob,
I am back.
Jacob is back. His voice, though, might have left that in Alabama. How you doing today, buddy? That voice, it's not very recognizable at this point.
Sincere apologies to everyone for
Get that mic
my voice.
Close.
I'm getting it right up in here.
Yeah.
Sincere apologies to everyone for my voice, but if you would have heard me yesterday, you'd be really happy with how it sounds today.
Yeah.
Because this is much, much better. But yeah, I mean, they, new coach, Kalen DeBoer said, "Hey, we need your voice to win this game." And I said, Coach, I'll give you anything you need. I'll leave it all out there on the field, and that's exactly what I did. So yeah, it was an incredible game. I think one of the better college football games of the last 25 years or so, and it was incredible to be there. Yeah, it was incredible.
Definitely one of the premier matchups of the college football weekend, no doubt. But we'll get to college football in a moment. And I know how happy you are about that win, because for your Bengals to get their first win of the season and you come all decked out in Alabama, that's just, you could tell what the highlight of your weekend was. Probably not narrowly escaping Carolina with the win. It was clearly the Alabama win that has you feeling high this morning. So
that's
maybe
right.
not high, maybe not issue 2, but it is what it is. But all right, let's get into it. Again, we welcome you in Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett, all with you here on this Monday, a Victory Monday. The Bengals get their first win of the season, and it went about how we all thought it would go. We figured the offense would look as crisp or look very, very solid. The strength of the team, no doubt about it. The identity of the Bengals team, it's all on the offensive side of the ball. The question marks, though, all reside on the defensive side of the ball. I spent last week trying to kind of balance being critical of what was an embarrassing Monday night performance defensively, no doubt about it, but also trying to balance the fact that when you looked at the Bengals in weeks 1 and 2, you saw a defense that had a lot of deficiencies, but I didn't see a defense that looked as bad as what they did on Monday. There was still, or this past, a week ago on Monday Night Football, I don't think anybody likes what they see defensively from the Cincinnati Bengals, but as long as you, at times, can get situational stops, as long as at times you have that goal line stand right off the bat to kind of set the tone early. You force a punt every once in a while. I don't think that's too much to ask. The Cincinnati Bengals, it felt like a must-win yesterday. I know people want to get cute with the words. I think you said it wasn't a must-win, Jacob. It was just a can't lose. Okay, whatever. But the bottom line is the Cincinnati Bengals, they couldn't lose. It was a must-win. It was whatever cliche you wanted to use with it. But the bottom line is the identity of the Bengals, they stepped up. Jamar Chase, back-to-back games with a touchdown, was obviously getting back in a group, getting back in a rhythm with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow looks healthy again, and the flow of the offense is rolling. But most importantly, that offensive line is blocking. That run game is fantastic. The Cincinnati Bengals wasn't the prettiest game, but they found a way to get it done. We'll start with Casey, because I know you got this new hat and you feel like you're responsible for the Bengals getting their first win of the season. So new hat Casey, how we feeling about the Cincinnati Bengals fighting through the deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball and ultimately picking up their first win of the year?
If anyone saw the thumbnail on today's show, you'll see that I have Joe Burrow on there, and the title of it is, "Can Joe Burrow keep carrying the team?" That's how I feel about the Cincinnati Bengals team, because he's going to have to put up 30-plus points every game in order to get a win. And the defense did just enough to allow that to happen. They got one turnover that really swung momentum. They got a stop there on that 4th down goal drive, which they then were able to keep the lead or get the lead first, which is what it's going to take. The Bengals are going to have to score first in these games, and they're going to have to get up early, and they're going to have to maintain that lead because the defense is just right now not good enough. There's issues on every single level of the defense, and we already know about the injuries, but there's communication errors happening in the backfield and the secondary. Cam Taylor-Britt just is still lost out there. Geno Stone not fast enough to undercut routes to be able to make a stop there on a touchdown to Deontay Johnson. There's just so many issues right now with this defense, but all that to say that I just don't care, because this offense is on fire. This offense is exactly why I envisioned for this team. They went 50-50 yesterday, and I pounded my fist for 2 years on this, multiple tables over the years. I pounded my fist on the table and said, this team needs to get more balanced. They need to find a run game. They need to figure out how to be more balanced, and they did that. They were able to throw the ball very efficiently. I know Joe Burrow had an interception, but that was more of a miscommunication on Jamar and Joe. I think that won't happen very many times here in the future. And then the run game was unbelievable. Chase Brown gets 5 yards of carry every time he touches the ball. Zack Moss gets those nitty-gritty yards when we need it. And I don't know what else to say, man. The offensive line is the best it's ever been. And it's crazy that we don't talk about it more, because as of this moment, this offensive line is probably the best in maybe my time since watching football. They played really, really well yesterday. They were able to really run the ball. They were able to protect Joe Burrow just enough for him to be able to dice up this defense, the Panthers defense. And I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. And I think moving forward, what you have to rely on is Joe Burrow carrying this team on his back, being able to run this offense efficiently, and putting up 30 points a game. Because as of right now, the defense, there's no answers there. There's just none.
No answer. The defense is who they are, and Hendrickson being taken out, and obviously Cam Taylor-Britt when he's out there not being who everyone anticipated him to be. There's just so many deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball, but the story is the offense carrying everything the way that they are right now. I know you talk about Joe Burrow a lot, but that run game, especially because it was non-existent in the first half, and then whatever switch was flipped in the second half, whether it was the philosophy, whether it was just the plan of attack, whatever it was, the run game just it really enhanced what Burrow was doing because it gets tiresome, not maybe from a Bengals fan perspective, watching Joe Burrow have to do everything, but it was probably refreshing seeing a balance on that offense that Casey talked about, the run and the pass.
Yep.
The offense will be the story the rest of the season as far as on the positive side, but yeah, that balance is going to be key, no doubt.
I've been a big fan of Zack Moss all throughout the offseason. I thought he's been great, but at some point I'm going to have to cave because it just looks different when Chase Brown has the ball. Reed said it yesterday on the stream. He just doesn't look the same. It's just different, and it's along the same lines of when you see Jamar Chase in space, how much burst he has, how he can seize that open space and no one can catch him. It's just so great when Chase Brown has the ball, even in shorter, confined spaces. What was his touchdown run? 3-4 yards?
Yeah.
And he's jumping over guys and finding a way to have burst in a shorter field, which has always been my knock on him. I thought he needed a ton of space in order to utilize his speed, and it seems like he's turning the page on that. One thing I think a lot of people, including myself, often forget is that he was a bell cow back at Illinois. He was a lead back and no doubt 20-carry guy, so he could do that. So I think at some point the Bengals are going to have to cave with me because Chase Brown's looked incredible.
I think that I'd be okay with Zack Moss taking the role of Samaje Perine. He comes in, he can catch passes. Yesterday he showed that he could do that and was very efficient doing that. I think there's a role for it. He can block, and obviously we know Chase Brown, the reason he doesn't play as much as we all want him to is because he can't block. But saying that, if I know that he's going to just rush up the middle for 10 yards every single carry, which is what it was essentially yesterday, I'd like him to play. I'd like him to be the starting running back, and we can have Zack Moss filter in there in the third down spot, which is still an important role. It's not like it's a non-important role. But on like 2nd and 9, when we need a gash up the middle, I know who I'd want as my running back. But yeah, the Bengals, they looked good yesterday offensively, and that's what they have to be. They have to be near flawless from the offensive side of the football. I saw there was a little bit of criticism on the Burrow side, on X.com. And I just don't. I feel like I watch a different game. Maybe I'm not a football guy, but I think Joe Burrow, he made the one interception when there was just a clear miscommunication. But he looks incredible. I mean, he looks like the Joe Burrow that we all wish we had towards the beginning of last season. And I can't really critique anything he does as of this moment because again, he's been the entire offense. Casey said it has to be him. He has to be the one guy that carries this entire team to the postseason.
Yeah, not everyone can be Jaden Daniels.
That's right. By the way, Commanders, that loss makes me feel a lot better now. I feel a lot better about it. But yeah, I think if the offense is able to put up these numbers, I think the defense can. The defense isn't going to be able to ever stop a team from going from the other side to the end zone. They're not going to be able to do that. But what they can do is every once in a while force a turnover, or maybe at the goal line you hold them, and that's what they did yesterday. And if I have to bet on the defense getting one turnover a game, I'll bet on it. I think that's more than not a likely scenario every single game.
It could have been 2 yesterday. I mean, Pratt. I mean that.
Almost
Andy
had
Dalton
another
threw
one,
that.
yeah.
I mean, right there. I mean, that would have been just one of the easiest pick sixes right there. It was just right in his hands, but a deflection nonetheless. But Casey's throwing me the hand signals again, so I'm assuming he's also not waving at me again. He's telling me, go to break, dude. He's telling me we got to get to commercial breaks. That's what we're going to do. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410. Wing AM in Dayton. More Bengals reaction when we come back again, picking up their first win of the season. We'll take a closer look at the numbers real quick and take a look at what's coming up for Cincinnati as they have the Ravens coming up. We'll get to all of that next Off the Bench. All right, and we are back. In the Bengals win yesterday, Joe Burrow completed 22 of his 31 passes, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. We talked about the run game, of course. Chase Brown, 15 carries, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, I know in the last couple of weeks we talked about the Bengals in the red zone. Obviously, when we talk about the Bengals in the red zone, we all look at the quarterback right off the bat. But again, it's just about how you produce in the red zone. And the Bengals found a way to get it done on the ground this time. Obviously, Chase Brown, making things work down there. Zach Moss, 15 carries, 51 yards. Overall, as a team, 141 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns to complement the 2 touchdowns through the air. About as balanced of an offensive attack as you can have in this league.
Yeah, and I know people are going to criticize that part of the offense. Play calling was not great. Joe Burrow missed a few opportunities there for easy touchdowns. I'm thinking of like the Mike Gesicki rub route. Like that should have been an easy touchdown. But, I mean, they did just enough, right? And that's what it really boils down to. If your offense is putting up 30 points a game, you should expect to win your football games. And that's what it really boils down to. And I know here in the future when we start talking about like the Ravens or we start talking about other teams with high explosive offenses like Dallas or like the Eagles, we're going to have to find some ways to continue to put up points, but also find some ways to get the ball back to us. That being said, I feel like this defense has had a really, really bad streak of just injuries right now, and the trickle-down effect that has caused for this defense. And why I had hope for this defense maybe in another couple weeks kind of figuring it out when we had that buy or sell a week or two ago. When your defensive line plays as bad as what it did against the Panthers, when you're having to put out 4 defensive ends just to get pressure to the quarterback. I mean, we were having Sam Hubbard and Joseph Osai as your 3 techs in a rush with Hendrickson and Cedric Johnson on the outside. When you're having to do that just to get pressure to the quarterback, you know that you're in trouble in terms of just roster construction. And they did just enough to create these opportunities to give the ball back to the offense. That's why I feel like moving forward, getting turnovers is the key to this defense. And that's kind of what it was last year. I don't know if you guys remember, but the Bengals, for a large portion of the year, were the defense that led in the turnover margin. They were able to create turnovers and not turn the ball over, and it gave the offense opportunities to capitalize on those. The day of the bend don't break, I think, is over for the Lou Anarumo defense, but the turnovers, the aggressiveness, I think that has yet to be fully unlocked. I think when everyone gets back healthy and we get further into the season, when we're not having the same communication errors, when we're in better position, I think we're going to see a more aggressive defense that creates turnovers for this offense to put up more points on the board.
So we've opened the show. We talked about the things that obviously that led to this win, which was the offense, no doubt about it. Defense wasn't as atrocious as what we saw against Jane Daniels in Washington in the previous week of Monday Night Football. But again, I don't think anyone feels any better about this defense, right? I mean, you guys watch that defense. I'm sure it still makes you nauseous. I mean, where are we at right now? The win is one thing, right? You got the win. I think that's why the moods are a little bit more settling today. But at the same time, the same reason you guys were upset about the Commanders game was that defense. That defense is still a major problem and going to be a big talking point heading into this matchup with the Ravens. I don't want to get too much into the Ravens matchup yet, but your overall takeaways of the defense and how much still of a concern is that as far as what you're hoping this team can accomplish, big picture?
I watched Derrick Henry carve up the Bills for 200 yards last night, and I watched Lamar Jackson be able to do whatever he wanted. And I'm picturing the Bengals defense right now without Trey Hendrickson versus that. And I'm petrified, legitimately petrified. The only thing that gives me solace, if there's anything that gives me solace, is that I know everybody and their mother and brother will be betting on the Baltimore Ravens against us next week or this weekend. Now. I know. That's going to jump to -3. I think everybody's going to be on the Ravens, and that makes me feel good because, as we know, we all have a system around here. But, yeah, listen, the defense is terrible. I mean, there's no way around it. Cam Taylor-Britt, I outside of one really sick interception, what is Cam Taylor-Britt? I think
Are we entirely sure he's not the third best corner on this team?
I don't
Turner
know.
looked great yesterday. Dax Hill made a phenomenal play in the end zone that, broke up a touchdown, and Cam just gets beat after gets beat after gets beat.
So you showed me this stat last week. It was basically right off the jump, right when the play starts, the receiver is like 5 yards past him. And he's been able to...
He's allowing some of the most separation in football, but he's also forcing more incompletions than almost any corner. So he's getting beat off the line, but he's recovering at an ungodly rate. But at some point, you can't recover every play.
Yes. and that's what it was yesterday. I haven't heard any updates on Trey Hendrickson yet, outside of it being a neck injury. So
I did see Stinger, which is always good, but it could obviously be more with it being a neck.
If we don't have Trey Hendrickson, truly the defense is lost, and that they are probably a bottom 3 defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Joseph Osai looked good yesterday.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkins looked good yesterday in 20 snaps. I have questions for Lou Anarumo on snap count.
There's so many questions to be had on this defense. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying there's a couple of guys who made their mark yesterday, but outside of those guys, they just don't play like a cohesive defensive unit. Like a good defense would around the NFL.
Yeah.
So that's the main area of concern. You can score 35 points a game, but if the defense is going to play like this against good teams, I saw Andy Dalton smile more yesterday than I've ever seen he was just having a ball.
Even the incompletion in that first quarter that he should have been pissed at the receiver for dropping. He's just like, oh well, by golly,
shucks,
yeah.
I'm Andy Dalton, go Frogs. And I just saw him Playmakers on 3. I just saw him smile at so smug. Andy
like
Dalton
The Office.
Andy Dalton was smug yesterday.
We were watching The Office yesterday. He was just jimming the camera the entire
That's
time.
100% what he was. He was smug, laughing, having fun. He didn't care if he won or lost because he knew the Bengals defense is Swiss cheese. He was just it was like batting practice. It was like the home run derby for football. It was just bad. But positive vibes. The defense forced a turnover. They had a massive 4th and goal stop. Massive. Right off the rip, and that pretty much won the game for the Bengals right there. I'll say that. If they go down and score on that first drive, it takes the wind out of our sails. So good on the defense. They played good enough. Not good, mind you, good enough.
Yeah, I think when we look at this defense, there's some major concerns. My major concerns with this team stem from a lot of the just who's actually out there. Why is Chris Jenkins only getting 20 snaps? I mean, he had probably the biggest play of the day. That 4th and goal stop is what set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
He needs to be out there starting over top of guys like Zack Carter, who literally are just floating out there in space. I mean, he's one of the worst defensive linemen in the entire league. He should not be on an NFL roster at this moment. We already mentioned the Cam Taylor-Britt thing. I don't know what's going on there. It feels like to me that there's some sort of communication breakdown where he feels like he's got help over the top, and that's why he's allowing all this separation. And then he realizes it's actually cover 3 where he's supposed to be covering the deep guy, or he realizes it's quarters coverage where he's got to basically play man-on-man on that touchdown, that post over the middle. It's like he's so bad in terms of fluidity that he's a good corner when he's able to keep everything in front of him, right?
Yeah.
And that he's able to make a tackle in space. He's able to keep guys in front of him. As soon as he has to flip his hips, he can't keep up with these guys when he's like in double moves. He just gets his hips flipped and he's looking the wrong way, and they cut back inside and it's a touchdown, easy. Or it's just a huge gain. I'm on board with the idea that Dax Hill might be our best corner at this point. He's the most athletic out of all the corners on the team, and he seems to make some plays here and there. He was right there on that touchdown to Terry McLaurin, talking about the game last week. It's just I don't know what to make of it. The safeties, why is Jordan Battle not getting a better opportunity? Because right now the safeties are giving you nothing. They're giving you no juice. They're too slow. Geno Stone gets burnt because he's trying to pick up a drag route, and he tries to undercut it. Can't do it. I mean, Von Bell, too slow. He's letting guys run around him. Can't make a tackle. He doesn't have any power anymore either. That hard-hitting Bell, I just don't see it anymore. And so I'm like, why are we not giving some of these guys more opportunities? Younger guys, stronger guys that played well last year, Jordan Battle. And then on top of that, we're having to, like I said on the top of the show, we're using defensive ends to get pressure on third down in the interior. Like we're putting out our entire defensive end room on third down because the interior guys can't do it. That's just poor roster construction. That's just really, really bad. Just that you're in a really bad spot when all those guys are in like that. So it's just, I don't know what to make of the defense. The only thing that you can really take away is that they came up big when it mattered most.
Yeah.
So, and like the big thing now too, you talked about the big thing, the big takeaway from this game. I don't know if we learned, simple question, did we learn anything about this Bengals team yesterday? I don't know if any questions were answered as far as yesterday's game was concerned. As far as the question marks coming out of the Commanders game, I don't know if any questions were answered because it's like they won, yes, they were the more talented team. That's why they won. But overall, that's basically how they did look against the Commanders this past Monday night. The Commanders are just a more talented team. I think we're learning more about the Commanders as each week goes on. I just don't know. Did we learn anything about Cincinnati yesterday? I don't think that we did. I think the same problems that we were worried about coming into yesterday, we're still taking those same question marks and same concerns into the Ravens matchup.
I don't know if I learned anything per se about the Bengals, but I learned around the league that who else do we have to beat out for the playoffs? Who do the Bengals need to finish ahead of? And I know in my mind right now there are 4 teams with locks. It's the Houston Texans in a terrible division. I think it's the Kansas City Chiefs in a terrible division. I think it's the Buffalo Bills, and I think it's the Baltimore Ravens. Those are the 4 teams for me that are in the playoffs, and I won't question it. There's 3 other spots. The New York Jets, I saw Aaron Rodgers smack-talking his own coach post-game. And I also saw an offense that wasn't able to move the football. The Chargers' offense is a joke. And you go down the league here. Do you trust the Colts with Joe Flacco? Do you trust the Cleveland Browns? No. Do you trust the Steelers? Absolutely not. So I go around the league. I'm like, yeah, the Bengals have an identity, and it's unfortunately that the Bengals' defense isn't very good. But the offense can outscore just about anybody in the NFL. I think Reed said it yesterday. If the Bengals had just an average middle to not even middle, just a little worse than middle, if they had a worse than middle defense, they would be a top 5 team in the NFL. A top 5 team in the NFL. So I'm just trying to think here. If we're able to score 30 a game, hopefully that pace can continue. I think I think the Bengals are going to make the postseason. I really do. I just think that it's going to be hard for the lesser of this AFC. To keep up points-wise, despite how bad our defense is. That's what I learned. That's what I took away. And I also took away that there's a couple of playmakers in this Bengals offense that we probably didn't think about coming into this season, and they're making their mark early. And maybe Mike Gesicki wasn't the tight end we should have all been really excited about. Maybe there should have been somebody else. And that's what I wanted to talk about next, because I think there are some positives on the offensive side of the ball that we probably didn't even think about.
So, with that, well, go there then. I mean, you said that's what you want to talk about next. I mean, we can go there because
Well, that was a tease. So I was going to, because there was 4 seconds left in the segment.
Oh,
so that was
nice.
I was just setting you up. I was setting you up for the tease.
That was nice. All right. Well, that tease that was set up for me, I'm going to send it right back to him to set up. Send us to break. Send us to break with that beautiful tease.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM. We are Chatterbox Sports. Justin Kinner, Elliot Rearing, Casey McAllister, Jacob Tissett. We'll be right back with you.
You forgot the tease.
Good point. That's my bad.
We welcome you back. Elliot.
Next segment, I'll get it out.
The next segment. But go ahead. So we're back. You forgot the tease, but that was one hell of an outro. You got everyone's name right.
Thanks.
It flowed smoothly, so we're good there. No, set it up. I'm going to let you lead.
I think Erick All Jr.
Thank you.
might be. I don't want to say the most important piece, because obviously that belongs to Jamar Chase. But if Erick All is able to contribute at this level going forward, I think the Bengals offense is going to click at all cylinders. Because I was concerned, outside of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, what do you have this year? And Jacob and Casey, they were very high on Mike Gesicki, and rightfully so. Maybe Mike Gesicki's the truth. Yesterday, I think he had a catch for a loss of 10.
That call was crazy.
Bad call. But
Burrow also missed him in the end zone. Would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, but Erick All Jr., if you would have told me coming into this year that he'd be as big of a role player as he was in this team, I would have laughed at your face.
That's fair.
He's been absolutely incredible. He was the third leading receiver yesterday, 4 catches, 28 yards. And it just seems like whenever the Bengals need something and Jamar and T are blocked up, you got Erick All somewhere down the field.
He hasn't dropped a target yet this year.
It's insane.
16 or 12 targets, 12 catches.
I wasn't high on Yoshi coming into this year. Yoshi's been serviceable, no doubt about it. But I just didn't trust him. I didn't know how the Bengals would use Jermaine Burton. And up until this point, they really haven't used him. Jermaine Burton didn't receive a target yesterday. I don't even know if he took a snap yesterday. But I'm very impressed with Erick All Jr. Very, very impressed. What round did he get to Erick All? Fourth round?
Was it fourth? Yeah,
round?
It was fourth.
Third or fourth?
It was in the third day. It was
Either way, I think there were a lot of people down on that draft pick, and to see it work out like it has been,
Fourth.
It's been very, very cool. So good for Erick All, good for the Bengals coaching staff getting him involved as much as he has been.
It's not even just that he's a good receiver too. I mean, he has been probably our best lead blocking tight end that we've had in a very long time. And I love Drew Sample, but he's not athletic enough and he's not shifty enough to also go through the hole and lead block like Erick All does. There's a few plays in yesterday where he's just lead blocking, going through the hole, and he makes a block and it turns into a 10-yard gain. I love Erick All right now. His blocking is phenomenal. He is a great pass-catching tight end right now. Most of his yards are after the catch too. Not to bring up another good point about him. He's just overall right now developing into a very, very nice tight end. I can't wait for the future for him. I think that he's going to continue to thrive in this offense the way it is right now. As long as we're able to maintain balance, I think he's going to do really, really well for us. That being said, like there's some other positives to take away from this. T. Higgins had a great day yesterday. I mean, he took advantage of his opportunities that were given to him. He had like 6 catches all in the first half or something like that for 60 yards. And then when they decided to start doubling up T and Jamar, started getting more open up stuff underneath, allowing the running backs and the tight ends to really get more involved. It's a chain effect, right? It's all a big cause and effect. If you want to double up Jamar, well, guess what? T's going to burn you underneath that. If you want to double up both of them, we got the guys now with Zack Moss, with Chase Brown, with Erick All, Gesicki, Yoshi even, to really make you pay if you want to go that route too. So I really like what I see from our offense so far. There's lots of positives to take away. Marius Mims too. He looked phenomenal. There was one play where I think he gave up a sack inside. I don't think Burrow took a sack. No, don't think he took a sack.
I don't think Burrow
almost gave up a sack. It was the interception. That's what it was. He gave up pressure inside. Joe Burrow evaded it. And still, regardless, Mims looks fantastic. He looks like a veteran right now. Very, very pleased with this offense.
Yeah, you talk about Joe Burrow not getting sacked. Jay Morrison, now with Sports Illustrated, said, he tweeted out yesterday that today was just the fourth, or yesterday's game was just the fourth time that Burrow has not been sacked in a game, and the first since Week 3 of 2021. So it's been a minute since he went untouched during a game. No doubt about it. Another moment during that game that I thought of Casey right away was when Joe Burrow came up hobbling a little bit. His offensive line has been protecting him, but his offensive line stepped on his foot. He came up hobbling a bit. Burrow on limping around early in the game. Another update on him. He goes, I got stepped on. That didn't feel great, but nothing crazy. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Might be a little bruised, but nothing crazy. But I was like, man, hopefully it's nothing major. We don't need no injury-prone debates on this show.
No.
Not with all the defensive issues right now with this team, no doubt.
Trust me, I would have been all over that injury-prone debate. Luckily, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. He looked fine. He was running around out there.
He's playing through his injury.
Yeah.
He's always hurt though. He's always banged up. You know? No, last point on this, and we'll do our AFC North roundup, and then we'll talk about the Bengals-Ravens heading into the weekend. We got some Red stuff coming up around the corner. Yes, college football. Jacob, I mean, he has this like RFK Jr. Vibe to him right now with the way he's talking like this. Like, I mean, it's like either like a smoker or RFK Jr. I'm not really sure what's going on.
I've left no Bears in Central Park.
You didn't let me get to the joke.
I beat you to it?
Yeah, I was going to say I just saw Jacob lure a bear into his truck this morning.
No Bears.
But that's fine.
No Bears in the truck.
I will say this about the Cincinnati Bengals. I wanted 4-2. I wanted 4-2 to start this year because I looked at the schedule on paper, and I thought that was more than plausible. Saying that, the Commanders look legitimate, and I think if you were going to lose a game to that team, I'm okay with it.
And complaining about the defense playing poorly against what looks like maybe one of the
Best
better
offenses,
offenses. Yeah.
The Chiefs game, we all know what we were going to expect. It was going to be a dogfight. It was going to be close. It was going to come down to a Patrick Mahomes miracle drive or some sort of Harrison Butker kick, and that's what it was. The Patriots' loss is the only one as of right now that stings. You have to beat the Patriots at home. The Patriots look woeful. They're terrible. That's the only one that stands out right now. If you would have told me we'd be 2-2 with the Commanders and the Chiefs being your losses, I'd be fine with that. 1-3, still a hole to climb out of. But I feel a little bit better now that you got this first win out of the way. You play the Ravens on Sunday at 1 o'clock. I'm concerned about it because I saw what that offense did to the Bills yesterday, and it was sad to watch. But I'm going to be okay. If the Bengals can put up a fight against the Ravens, even win, maybe they win. If you beat the Ravens and we go 2-3, and then you go to New York and play the Giants, and you can somehow salvage 3-3 in the first 6 games, I will be as happy as a clam, 100%. So I don't have too many negatives to say. It is funny when they lose, we can do 9 segments. And then when they win, it's like, oh yeah, they won. They did their job. And then it's like, okay, let's try to make segments out of that.
Well, that's why earlier I was like, I don't know. We didn't learn anything about them yesterday.
No, yeah.
They lived to fight another day because, I mean, you lose to Carolina. That's it.
Yeah.
We're talking draft today.
God, could you imagine if we were talking draft today? What a sad existence that would be.
I did some draft stuff.
I'm sure he did.
Travis Hunter?
He's really good. No, a lot of quarterback movement this week because Carson Beck stinks. But
Carson Beck does stink.
The one thing, too.
Really bad.
Earlier you talked about all the teams that they're going to be going up against, fighting for these playoff spots. I mean, look, the division's still up for – I don't think anyone has taken firm grasp of that division. The Steelers got exposed a little bit yesterday, although Justin Fields – I mean, the irony of the fact that he just balls out yesterday and then they lose. I mean, football's such a weird sport sometimes.
Maybe,
no
so talking point I think this year has been pretty loud about NFL-wise as a whole. Maybe these guys that get drafted and don't do very well, maybe coaches and organizations matter a little bit.
A little bit.
Sam Darnold, pretty freaking good. Justin Fields, pretty good. Baker Mayfield, pretty good. Geno Smith, pretty good. I mean, I'm sure there's someone else I'm forgetting, I don't know, but it seems like there's a ton of quarterbacks around the league that are playing very, very good football right now, and they're all off of their first team, some of them off of a second team that are just terrible coaches and organizations.
And I feel like that's been like a recent new trend because it used to be like if you weren't good with the team that drafted you, the second, third chances usually didn't blossom anything. It is weird seeing how many quarterbacks around the league, especially Baker and Sam Darnold, have just emerged into these Pro Bowl level quarterbacks. Now, can they sustain it? That's still up for debate, but as of right now, that's been the biggest stories in football. But you talked about the Bengals needing to hang in there, 1-3 on the season. But the thing is, you look around the AFC right now. I mean, the teams that you think you're going to be fighting with, coming into this season, we talked about the Jets, we talked about the Bills, we talked about the Houston Texans, we talked about the Chargers, we talked about some of these other teams. Baltimore 2-2, Bengals 1-3. You control your fate this weekend. You're going up against Baltimore. You're right. You're right. 1-3 sounds like such a horrible start, and we kept saying, man, 0-3, that's it. The season's done. But the AFC as a whole right now is not as strong as what we thought it was. Kansas City is probably the worst-looking 4-0 team since I watched Pittsburgh a few years ago when they started. Remember how bad Pittsburgh was when they were 11-0 years ago? But, hey, it's better than being 0-3. You're right? But, they're 4-0. They got a lot of question marks. The Texans, they took care of business yesterday against a bad Jacksonville team, but they came off a bad loss the previous week. And then the Steelers, 3-0, now 3-1 with that loss. The 0-3 start for the Bengals, now 1-3. They're in it and it doesn't matter. I think we make too much about the record at times. I do think what's going on around you matters, and what's going on around the Cincinnati Bengals, they're not even close to being out of this thing, not even a little bit. That's what's wild about the AFC start so far.
Bengals were 1-3 last year. They lost 2 to divisional opponents, Cleveland and Baltimore. Had a tough win against the Rams, and they got blown out by Tennessee. And they followed that up with winning 4 in a row right after that. So it's not over yet. Bengals, they control their destiny. It's a really important game against the Ravens. I feel like if you don't win that one, you're really, really stretching, hoping for playoffs. But it's not over yet. It's never over until we're mathematically eliminated with Joe Burrow.
If we lose Sunday, I go full wild card focus.
Yeah.
If we lose Sunday, I go full wild card focus. If we win Sunday, I'm still
AFC
North doors still open.
Yeah.
We're 1-0 in the division. We only have, we have the only divisional game we've played so far. That's the big thing about this year versus years in the past. We've picked up divisional losses in those slow starts, and we didn't do that so far this year. So if we can win Sunday, I'm still in on the division. I still think that door's open. If we lose, I'm locked in on the wild card.
Yeah, and not to mention too, maybe I'm looking too far ahead, and that's fine. I already know I am. The Chiefs, they just lost Rashee Rice. I mean, how many more injuries can they take to their starting, offensive players, their star players, and continue to still win ball games? Their offense does not look pretty with Mahomes the last 4 weeks. I feel like I know they're 4-0 and we're 1-3, so it's just a long ways away. But I feel an incoming shift in the tide of the AFC standings here soon, because you just can't sustain that many injuries on offense and still maintain a winning formula, in my opinion. But
it looked like a dirty hit too. We should look at a suspension for that guy. I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't even hit
Get
the
him
ball
out of
carrier.
here.
He just dove at Rashee Rice's knee.
You're
There's
right.
no place for that in the game.
You're right. There is no place for that in the game. Like I said, I think the AFC is wide open, man. I think there's 4 teams that are locks for the postseason, and outside of that, you would have a hard time convincing me that all these other teams are locks. So I think the Bengals are right in the thick of it still. I know it's 1-3, doesn't look good on paper, but talent-wise, have we seen any of these other teams score 30 a game like this?
Well, I think not stirring the pot. I think y'all need to cool it with overreacting to the offense just a tad. Only because I've been impressed with the run game like you wouldn't believe, but you've also ran the ball on 2 of the worst run defenses in the National Football League over the last 2 weeks. That helps, right? Like that definitely helps. The Commanders' defense not good. The Panthers' defense not good. So, but when you look at on paper, you have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and you have these running backs that we know the explosiveness is there. But the problem is with that defense being as bad as it is for Cincinnati, that does put the pressure on the offense. What happens when you're faced with even a little resistance? What happens when you're forced to punt maybe on back-to-back possessions? Are you confident that your defense can keep an opponent from scoring on those same following possessions? That's where things get. That's where I'm intrigued by this Ravens matchup the most. Is the Ravens right now have the second best running defense in the National Football League? Like your teams are not running on them. That's where we're really going to learn if the run game for Cincinnati is for real or not. It's definitely improved from recent years, no doubt about it. But if you can run on Baltimore, then I'm like, okay, you can run on anybody as far as that's concerned. That's going to be the one thing. We didn't learn anything from the Bengals yesterday. I think we're going to learn an absolute crap ton about who the Bengals are with the Ravens coming up this week. So let's talk about that matchup when we come back. We'll do our AFC North roundup. We got some Reds and college football stuff coming up around the corner as well, but I want you guys to respond to that. I wasn't trying to say that, tell you guys to shut up, and then not let you respond. But we'll get to that more coming up, more off the bench next. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Bengals coming off their first win of the season yesterday, taking care of business on the road against their former quarterback, Andy Dalton, and the Carolina Panthers. I wasn't trying to dunk on you and tell you that you're overreacting to the offense by any means. That was kind of silly on my part, the way I worded that. I don't think no one's overreacting. Like, it's Joe Burrow, it's Jamar Chase. We know what this offense is capable of. However, we're hearing a lot of, what more can Joe Burrow do? What more can Joe Burrow do? He's done everything that's asked of him, especially taking advantage of going up against defenses with deficiencies as well. The Bengals have a lot of deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball. But what happens when they do face a very good defense, and they will play one this coming up weekend against the Ravens? What happens when that offense is met with any kind of resistance? What happens when, we saw the turnovers, they were maximized against the Kansas City Chiefs. That cost them against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's a good football team. obviously you lose to Washington. That's a solid football team as well. Not worrying about turnovers in that one, but at the same time, when your defense isn't letting that defense or, not letting that offense, giving them any stops, it just becomes one of those where all the pressure goes to Joe Burrow and that offense. What happens when the Ravens force them to punt not 1, not 2, 3, 4 times this weekend? I don't trust that defense to get stops in every single one of those situations. Can they run on the Ravens? That's what we're going to find out. That I don't know if everyone acts like we have all the answers for the Bengals offense. I don't think we do. I think they've just taken advantage of teams who are pretty poor defensively themselves as well.
Over the last 3 to 5 years or whatever it's been since Joe Burrow's been here, the Bengals haven't ran the ball this well against bad defenses. Anyway,
Fair.
So these 2 games,
Yeah.
the run game wise, have been better than any really bad defense examples that we've seen. And I'm talking about, DVOA and EPA per play and all the different, advanced metrics that really get into how you're being able to run the ball. The Bengals are dominating right now in the run game, one of the best rushing offenses in the league. And I don't think that is all because of the bad defenses. I certainly think it comes into play, but I do think the offensive line, like you said earlier, being as good as they've been right now, and Zach Moss and Chase Brown together is just a perfect situation.
The Chiefs' defense is pretty good, no? That's a good defense. Mm-hmm. The Bengals' offense looked great in that game. Outside of one silly turnover by Joe Burrow, they win that football game.
Great. They weren't great in the red zone. The turnover that led to a score, I don't think that's great.
There was one bad turnover. I think you can do but you're saying that the Bengals offense against a good defense, let's see what happens. That's a good defense. The offense showed up outside, and they did enough to win that game outside of one just silly fumble 6. That's my argument against it.
Why is every time your quarterback make a mistake, it's just, I was threw the interception yesterday. It was just a little miscommunication, and then it was a little silly just fumble that led to a score that lost the team the game. It's just a little silly when you're
those are blemishes. Those aren't
blemishes.
Those aren't just big smears and you have to clean out the windows. It's just like a little spot there.
That ultimately was what lost the game.
It's 100% what lost the game. That fumble.
That's a smear.
The Chiefs offense couldn't move the football against the Bengals defense in that game, and it came down to the Joe Burrow costly fumble. No doubt about it. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm worried about Joe Burrow fumbling every game. Just like I'm not worried about Joe Burrow throwing an interception down the field when there was a clear miscommunication issue. But my point
struggling to say miscommunication. You understand why that's a little bit funny.
No, 100% it is. It was a miscommunication. There it is, revenge. But I'm not worried about the Bengals offense going up against a good defense because I've seen it. I've already seen it this year. 25 points, 33 points. What did they score yesterday? 35 points. So I think the offense is going to be fine against a good defense. Even rushing-wise, they were okay in that game. 30 yards for Chase Brown, 35 yards for Zach Moss. I don't know. I think you could win this. You could win yesterday's game 10-3, and I'd feel worse about it than today winning 30 whatever to 20 whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think the offense looking good is the most important piece to me, and they have looked phenomenal for 3 games now.
All right, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. AFC North roundup. It was not a good day for the AFC North yesterday, outside of your Cincinnati Bengals, of course. Let's start with the undefeated, now defeated.
It was half and half.
It was half
great.
I was going to say,
Baltimore.
The Ravens destroyed the Bills. By the way, could you imagine if Zack Taylor drew up whatever the hell that play call was when when Josh Allen was lining up as a wide receiver? What was that play call?
Yeah, Zack Taylor did some play calling fun of his own on Sunday.
Was there some bad ones?
Yeah, have a swing pass on the 1 yard line that would run out the clock if you don't get in.
Yeah,
Joe said that was his decision though to throw that, so I guess put it on him. That was a bigger mistake than the interception. I
already know what play you're talking about. When they pitched it to the outside, I was like,
last play of the first half, Zach Moss swing pass he scored with I think it was 1 second left.
Yeah,
and
he slipped.
That 2-for-1 was legitimately the biggest thing that happened to the Bengals on Sunday. That's what won them the game. And after the game, I was killing Zack Taylor for it in my head. And then after the game, Burrow said that was his decision, and he flipped it to Zach Moss, and he said it's one of the worst decisions I've ever made, but thank God he got in. So I guess it's not Taylor's fault, but that was a questionable play call for sure.
Real quick, because I see Craig, with the little wrench. I know it's hard to imagine when your quarterback has a 4-3 touchdown. See, this is the unintelligent thing that Bengals fans do. Anytime you question things about your team, you have to take shots at their team as if that totally just erases the question marks about your team. Your team was 0-3 until yesterday. All right, I don't think asking questions about your team deserves constantly having to go back and take shots at the other person's team, especially when I've been calling out my damn team all year. I've been making fun of my quarterback as well. So I don't know what point you're trying to make other than just sound juvenile, because at the end of the day, you're not making the point that you think you are. The bottom line is Deshaun Watson being really, really bad in Cleveland doesn't change the fact that your team started 0-3 and is now 1-3 and the same record as those horrible Cleveland Browns. So I'm just saying, I get what you're trying to do, and you may have won. I may have let you win. I'm on very little sleep right now, maybe a little cranky. All right, but I'm just saying, absolutely hilarious. Your team, you get one win, and now everyone, now we could jump on the Browns. We had to wait till we got our first win a month into the season with the MVP quarterback. And now now is when we're going to start making fun of the Browns. Okay, that's fine. That's fair.
To be
that
fair,
more about
I've
you
been
than
making
me.
fun of the Browns long before. The
I've been listening to you've been the most consistent, to be fair. But hey, you know what? Your quarterback, they're blemishes. They're not smears.
That's right.
I'm just saying. If anyone's takeaway is that Joe Burrow hasn't been good enough this season.
He's responsible for 2 of the 3 losses you have right now. That is not up for debate. He was not good against New England. He did not do enough to win that football game. I mean, when you're Joe Burrow, you have to perform well against New England. New England's one of the worst defenses in the NFL. That's not up for debate.
Yeah.
That's statistically true.
Kirby, no, this is a no clip.
No, this can be clipped. It's fair to say that. How are you saying
I think it's crazy to blame him for that.
Joe Burrow's fumble that led to they lost the Chiefs because of that fumble. How is that not on Joe Burrow?
You think Joe Burrow's to blame for the Chiefs' loss?
Your quarterback turned the ball over that led to a score for the other team. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to debate that.
You can't debate it because there's nothing to debate.
No, I don't think there's any ground to say Joe Burrow's to blame for either of those.
He fumbled it. They got it. They scored. They won by possession.
Because
Joe Burrow walks on water. He shouldn't make mistakes like that, but when he does, we overlook it.
Is it a mistake? Absolutely. Did it contribute to the loss? Absolutely. Is it his fault we lost? No.
Then whose fault was it?
The defense. You scored 25 points on offense, you should win an NFL football game.
But when your quarterback gives points to the other team, that's a loss. I know I watch bad quarterback
all
the time.
You don't commit a pass interference.
The defense only gave up 19 points.
It's a fair point.
Okay, you don't commit a pass interference on the last play of the game.
I'm not saying Joe Burrow's bad, but this idea that we're going to act like he's been perfect all season and he has no role in the
You're right. He has not been perfect, but
he has a role in the losses. I'm just saying to place that loss.
Joe Burrow's paid to beat the Patriots. Joe Burrow's paid to not fumble and lose your team the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. You guys don't have to like that. I know that's upsetting you. It's hurting your feelings, but facts are facts. Like, that is very true. You would not let Patrick Mahomes.
I love when you say facts when it's an opinion.
It's not an opinion. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. He fumbled and let.
Stop saying facts.
Facts don't care about our feelings.
The Chiefs scored off that fumble that gave them the win. That's not an opinion.
No, the pass interference gave them a field goal that gave them the win.
The pass interference.
When Joe Burrow left the field, were they winning or not?
When Joe Burrow gave them the last points that they needed to win that football game.
That's not true. The last point they needed to win the football game was the field goal.
Your quarterback shouldn't give points to the other team.
Agreed.
Okay.
Was it his fault solely? No.
But it's his fault. He's paid to not have any fault in those games.
So he has to be perfect. Full circle.
$55 million. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's not what? What are we? We're paying you to go give it your best, pal? No, you're paid to go win football games. They're 1-3.
Listen, that was a team loss.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can put that all on Joe. Like, it was a team win and lose effort. They lost together as a team.
But when they win, Joe Burrow, my God, he willed them to victory yesterday.
Well,
we didn't.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Hang on. Wait a second. It's Joe Burrow and the offense when we talk about the performance against Carolina. I mean, they went 50-50. They threw the ball 50% of the time. They ran the ball 50% of the time. I think that's a team effort. That's a team win on offense. The team on offense looked great. Is that better? Does that make you happy?
I mean, no, because I know you don't mean that. So, is what it is.
I just think that if you don't have Joe Burrow, you have no chance to score any points whatsoever.
Yeah.
Valid.
So you need a quarterback.
So if we're going to sit here and say that the one fumble against the Chiefs was the sole reason they lost, I wouldn't say that. It was a major reason. It was probably the factor that was the difference maker in the game. But I think if Joe Burrow doesn't play in that game, the Bengals don't score any points. So
I know, but I'm just playing by the rules of how we evaluate every quarterback in the National Football League when it comes to clutch moment in games. I'm just saying that cost him a game. Is what it is.
Offense looks great
Against bad defenses.
and the Chiefs.
Who are a good defense. Maybe great defense.
All right, we'll see. Ravens winning by double digits on Sunday.
Oh, this is going to be a revenge.
Ravens winning by double digits.
I would
How much
comfortably bet on the Ravens to win.
How much are you going to put on the Ravens to win that game? How much are you going to put on it?
I'll put $100 on it. I'll bet you $100. $100.
That would require us to think the Bengals are going to win.
I need to see the final spread.
Yeah,
Let's see the final spread.
Joe Burrow's not good enough to beat the Ravens?
No, this defense isn't good enough to stop the run game.
Well, Joe Burrow, he can make enough plays to get them a win.
I think we could score. I just don't think it'll be enough.
It's going to take another perfect game from Joe Burrow.
Well, I mean, he's paid to be perfect, so there you go.
Paid to be perfect.
No quarterback in the league.
The only quarterback that's perfect is Jaden Daniels.
That's right.
And
he's
still
damn near.
misses a few
He's
completions.
a couple of completions. That ain't perfect. Guy stinks.
Okay.
All right, let's get back on track here. Again, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy
Now we only have
Farmers.
1 minute left in the segment, and we've talked the whole. You've slandered Burrow this whole segment.
I was just throwing out questions, and I was just calling out the home
Slander.
Slander is fine. You can
And
call
you
it
can't
slander.
come back from it now. Surprised you didn't make fun of the TikToks.
I blame Craig.
The backless
He's the
suit.
one that I'm cranky today, and he poked the bear, and then I let it derail it from there. Happy Monday is what it is.
Bear
But
there,
I
it
do think I
rhymes.
cured the RFK Jr. sound out of his voice. I mean, there was more like bass.
I don't
in
think
the
so.
voice.
That was the most. That did bring it out of
I
him.
think if I get louder, it's better.
Yeah, I
No,
think
So I think I just need to scream, and it's better.
I think
man.
that's right. I think that's right.
But it hurts a little.
When we're losing, cheer louder, Jacob.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, do your
get-
part.
We
Yeah.
haven't.
Do your
By the
part.
way, we've done this entire show. We haven't even talked about how insane of a touchdown that was by Jamar Chase.
Yeah, screenshots were crazy.
That was the coolest touchdown I've ever seen, maybe ever.
That was like the
So,
second coolest touchdown. That was the second best time he's done that.
Yeah,
He did
yeah.
against the Chiefs a few years ago.
Is he having fun? That's all I care
That
about.
is all I care about.
Yeah, that's all I care about
all
too.
I care about.
Because he's having fun.
I
but he's,
can't imagine what his take was on that. I can't believe I missed that.
oh, it wasn't good.
Yeah, no, it definitely was bad.
Yeah, I love when my receiver is saying he's having fun again when they're 0-3 at the time. Yeah, I love that. That is.
But you need
I
a
made me
positive
very happy to
attitude.
see.
You can't pout.
It made me very happy to see.
That's all he did. No, I got to get back on track. So Jamar Chase is great. We do know that. We can all agree.
Oh yeah, he shouldn't have left Carolina without a contract. We're just gonna do this every week. Just pay him at some
Just
point.
pay him. Just pay him.
What are we doing next? You want to do that tease? Did you do the tease? No, we already.
Kevin
talked about
Mutombo
we wanted to
died.
tease.
If we want to talk about that,
Did he really?
yeah, sad. R.I.P.
Breaking news.
That is breaking news.
We didn't even get to do Elliot's breaking news sounder.
I don't think that. I
It's a
think
different
that.
podcast, breaking news sounder.
Yeah, I think that sounder's reserved for more funny moments. I think that was a sad moment.
Well, that's why I said it before the sounder.
Smart.
Yeah, but legend.
But that's how I guess we'll end this segment. The first segment of the show.
More off the bench when we come back.
All right, it's that time of day, everyone. It's time to pay the bills around here. And let me get these ads pulled up here for me. Pawnee Water. You hear that? Ooh, that's some smooth water right there. There are no rocks in this water. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. I certainly say that. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. And by the way, I said there's no rocks in it. There is no rocks in it. You look at the ingredients, it just says water. That's it. Just water. They don't add all that junk in there. Make it all crunchy. Oh, you want to do this again? We're going to do this again?
Has to do it again.
Going to do this again? Okay, here we go. Ooh.
Wow.
Pawnee
Athlete.
Water,
Wow.
the snack that smiles back.
Pawnee.
Sure. Pawnee Water.
He went back to the two-handed catch. He went back to the
He
two-handed
was too
catch.
afraid. He was too afraid.
I'm having to switch the camera and then react.
It's a lot going on.
It's
over
a
there.
lot going on
Hold
over
on,
here. I
hold
can't
on.
do all
If you
things.
have to switch the camera and catch it, wouldn't it be nice to have one free hand to switch the camera and use the
valid,
other hand?
valid. RFK Jr. over here,
See,
valid.
Jacob, that's smart. That's multitasking though. I can't multitask.
We'll just do it at the same time.
That's still multitasking.
Not if you
that's
just
at the same time. I don't think
instantaneously.
you understand what multitasking is. It's doing stuff at the same time. I can't do it. So, yeah. Anyways, Bengals Report, proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies.
Your entire job is multitasking.
It really is, isn't it?
4 hours a day, all you do is multitask.
That's tough. I can't do so many things at once.
Okay.
I get overloaded, right? Encore Technologies. They deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing to desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and...
Don't make me do this.
Productivity.
That's right, Jimbos. Visit encore.tech where your path to innovation begins here. Game Time, the ticketing app. I actually used it over the weekend. I went to the FC game. I did not watch any college football. I did not watch Alabama versus Georgia. I watched FC play.
Treason.
They lost. So
Good.
actually, I was watching it on my phone while I was at the FC game, but multitasking. I can do it when I'm watching football. So Game Time. I use the Game Times pick filters to help me look through all the different tickets to see exactly what I wanted, get the fluff out of there for the pricing, and see exactly where I wanted to sit at. I used it all summer long for Reds games. It's just 2 simple clicks. You get your tickets. Pricing's all up front. It's just a fantastic app. It's very smooth. One of the best ticketing apps I've ever used. Download Game Time today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it, fellas?
Game time.
What time is it, fellas?
Game time.
What time is it, fellas?
What he said. It's game time, Casey. It's game time.
It's game time. Download Game Time today. Other housekeeping items?
Thursday. Thursday, we will be back at Champion. I'm wearing the merch. Champions Grill on Work Road, both with an E. Grill and Work Road, both with an E. We will be giving away, or Champions will be giving away, Bengals tickets. So be there, be square.
Very nice.
They will be giving away Bengals tickets. So if you're interested in going to I know Bengals tickets are expensive, but if you go to Champions, they aren't expensive because they're giving them out for free. So come to Champions on Thursday. They're giving away Bengals tickets, and we hope to see everybody there. I'm going to keep saying this every day until Thursday, so you'll hear me say this exact same thing tomorrow. But please, please, please come see us. Thank you, everybody who's seen us so far. It's been a very, very fun couple of shows, and we can't wait to see you on Thursday.
And if you need a little snack, a little midday, pick me up, dinner's too far away, a little snack in the morning to hold you over.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night we got another Chatterbox Bengals. If you don't want to wait all the way till Thursday, have a little snack.
Have a little appetizer.
Come hang out with us tomorrow night, and then we're gonna have a special interview drop on Wednesday as well from Chatterbox Bengals. So keep an eye out for that. So packed week after the Bengals' first win for all of us here.
That's right.
And if you haven't done so already, check out Chatterbox Bengals from the game. The reaction with Reed and Craig. They did a really good job yesterday.
Big time shout out for Reed for taking that over, filling in for me while I was out of town. Really appreciate that.
No, you couldn't really talk, so.
That would have been a tough one.
Funny, yeah. 3-hour solo stream, no voice.
Especially like those reactionary clips of you,
Yeah.
but without the voice, that'd be kind of wild.
I
to
just
be honest.
dub over it.
Yes.
Take the audio from last week and put it over the videos.
But there you go.
Other housekeeping items. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button. Helps us grow, helps us bring in more viewers like you.
Thank you.
And we're going to do box lunch after this, so stay tuned for that. And also, if you didn't catch it, Tom's show Dialed In was this morning, so also check that out. Had some really interesting takes about the Bengals game, some other college football games, and finally closing out his thoughts on the Reds, where they stand at going into next year. So definitely check that out. And then other than that, I think we've hit everything else. So
people in the chat are saying that they're very upset about the stink list being gone. RIP stink list. Seems like you guys haven't been paying attention, because every Thursday live at Champions, Casey's doing his stink list.
The stink list is not dead.
Not only can you see it on YouTube, but you could see it in person.
That's correct.
So come out to Champions and come see the stink list this week.
Boom.
And the Browns will be right there at the bottom like they always are.
That's right.
Like they always are.
And it's valid this time.
It actually
It's
is
valid
kind of
this
valid
time. I tell you, I've never been more pissed off watching a football game yesterday. More pissed off watching a football game than yesterday. Watching you guys win. No, I'm just joking. No, watching. I mean, that just was absolute. I mean, like, there's no defense. There will be nothing out of my mouth defending what's going on in Cleveland. Like, what the hell? I mean, this isn't the radio side. It's just bullshit. Like, that's all I have. That's my Browns analysis for
I got
the
really
day.
excited for that touchdown that he threw to Amari Cooper for 95 yards that was called back.
Yeah,
and
all
ruined.
the Browns fans mad about that. Here's the deal. They don't deserve that call. The Browns, they have been, like, they don't deserve that call. They haven't done enough to deserve any kind of benefit of the doubt in absolutely anything. And Deshaun actually played well yesterday. I mean, that's probably one of the smoother games. I know number-wise you guys can poke fun all you want, but that wasn't on him yesterday. He was making plays with his legs. He was making great throws, beautiful throws. Amari Cooper off the chest and leads to an interception. What are we doing? The Browns lead the league in drops. It's like 16 drops. We're 4 weeks in. You're averaging 4 drops a game. You can't do that when your quarterback has been as bad as Deshaun has, and then he finally has a solid game yesterday. And your two best receivers, Jerry Jeudy, drops an easy one. Wide the F open. Sorry, again, I'm ranting again. You guys don't care. But
Look, the quarterback's paid to win. It all falls on him.
Yeah, look, he's been not living up to the
Quarterback is
contract the
paid
whole
to be
time.
perfect.
I get the pettiness. I know you guys don't like when your guys call it out. I'm just saying. But, like, the bottom line is Deshaun has been god-awful. Yesterday, not as god-awful. But Cleveland as a whole, god-awful. It's even more sad. Like, you guys, your players aren't very good on defense and aren't playing good defense. When you have a team full of good players on defense and you still can't play defense, that's way more alarming. Now
that is fair. I think that is the one thing I keep going back to with our defense is, like, hey, the players stink. Like, at least we don't have guys that are drastically underperforming other than, like, a few that are upsetting.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think our players are bad.
Yeah, we don't expect anything from our side of the ball.
Yeah, our bad defense is made up of bad players.
Yeah.
Your bad defense is made up of good players.
The same roster, though, that you guys argued with me. When I kept pointing out I didn't think your defense was good in the offseason, you would go down the roster and tell me how great they were.
Go to the cut day video. I was very, very worried about our defense when the final roster came out.
But to sum up, how many segments have we done, by the way?
4.
We've done 4.
So we're coming back to 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's come back to 5.
AFC North.
AFC North. Yep. Kind of did the most painful one for me out of the way.
All right, here we go.
Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett back with you here. 1410 ESPN Radio and Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. All right, the AFC North in the offseason. I think when we all talked about the best divisions in football, the AFC North, I think unanimously across all of football, everyone say hey, that's the best division in football, right? Like there's a couple others you can make arguments for, but that's not been the case. The AFC North has actually been very, very bad at football to start this season. I don't even think that's a hot take. Even the Ravens, who had a lot of they all did. All 4 teams you can make an argument to win the division. All 4 teams you can make an argument of why they would finish last in the division. And as we sit here right now, Pittsburgh's 3-1. We weren't really buying into them wholeheartedly at 3-0. There was, Justin Fields was a little bit of a pleasant surprise as far as there actually being more in that tank than what we had anticipated. Still not enough to take them to where Steelers fans want that team to go. But the Steelers 3-1, a better record than we anticipated, but I think they're about what we thought. All defense, not enough bark on offense. The Ravens are actually worse than we thought, even though they had a very dominating win against the Bills yesterday. They're still Jekyll and Hyde. I think they're still trying to figure out just who they are offensively, as wild as that sounds. And they may have found that balance that they're looking for last night, with the balance being between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. The Bengals 1-3, obviously not the start anyone anticipated. The defense significantly worse than anyone had anticipated. And then the Browns are just an absolute disaster on all three sides of the ball. I mean, it's just been an absolute horrendous start. 1-3 start for them, 1-3 for the Bengals. Not all 1-3s are created equally.
That's right.
Because you have you have one fan base in Ohio that's 1-3 that feels pretty good about themselves right now, and the other 1-3 fan base in Ohio, not so much. But the AFC North, obviously not living up to the hype coming into the season, but where does this division rank in football right now? How bad is this division as we currently sit here right now?
I think the AFC East is probably, no doubt, the best division in the AFC right now.
Yep.
Still comfortably put the North second.
Ooh.
Comfortable.
I don't know. I mean,
I think the Steelers would be third in that AFC West. I think the Chargers, it's probably a coin flip there between the two of them right now. And I still think the Ravens and Bengals are still on a tier with the Chiefs. I think the AFC North is still right up there.
I think the NFC West is better.
I said in the AFC.
Oh, AFC, yes.
I think it's still the second best division
all
in
right.
the AFC.
Yeah. 100%. Yes. You were right. I think the AFC West is playing better than they probably are right now.
Agreed.
I think you're going to see the Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers all fall off a cliff here real soon.
Just since you said Broncos, I'll bring it up briefly. Bo Nix at one point yesterday was 7 for 15 for -9 yards. That's not. You can't do that.
So I saw that he was actually in contention for the Masters.
Yeah,
with that
two-stroke lead on Sunday.
I saw he had a 2-stroke lead on Sunday with his stat line.
He had 3 completions that all 3 went for -7 yards.
He's a respectfully, and I say this with love and respect. He's terrible to watch.
But Sean Payton, good work. Wiggling your way through the draft to get Bo Nix to fall to you. Sly dog.
Would I rather have Hall of Famer Russell Wilson or Bo Nix? Good luck, Sean.
At least Bo Nix is young.
Is that what does that mean?
He's not.
How old is he?
He's really old. He was in college for 7 years.
Oh, brutal. So yeah, I think the AFC North is having a down year right now. I think opposite of what the NFC or AFC West will do, which I think AFC West will tail off. I think the AFC North will pick it up here real soon. I think the Ravens and Bengals are about to go on deep runs. And I think the Browns, despite what I think of them, I do think they will win football games once Nick Chubb is back. They are unable to run the football with Jerome Ford, and shout out to Jerome Ford, Bearcat. But it just hasn't looked efficient. That's in part because of a terrible offensive line. But saying all that, I do think the AFC North will pick it up real soon. I think it's not having a good start to a season, but I look at the AFC South and look how horrible that is, and look at the AFC East now without Tua, just terrible. So just in the AFC, probably second best.
Yeah, and again, the AFC North definitely not living up to the hype coming into the season, but because of everything crumbling around them, like the East, as you guys saw, I mean, the Bills better than some people had thought, but then maybe not because you saw what happened to them last night. The Jets, I started to buy into the Aaron Rodgers hype over there, and although it may not be all on Aaron Rodgers, the Jets still remind people that they are the Jets. The Dolphins without Tua, the Patriots aren't good. Again, by default, I guess the AFC North still is the best division out of the AFC at this point right now.
Just look at some of the bottom half of the AFC, man. I think that even if you're the Cleveland Browns, who have no hope whatsoever, I do think there's enough hope for them.
He starts so kind most of the time, and then just
here's the deal.
So people could blame me for that Burrow bit a little bit ago, but it's his
fault.
It's him and Craig's fault. I just want that to. You can poke me so long before.
I wouldn't have even mentioned him if they didn't lose me.
You're not even doing.
I wouldn't have even mentioned him if they didn't lose me money yesterday.
You're not even doing the respect thing that you were doing last week.
No, there's no respect here.
No respect.
There's no respect here.
That goes a long way.
They snapped the ball to Deshaun's face yesterday. He wasn't even looking at it. Continuing on with my thought.
He's paid to look at the ball.
He is paid to look at the ball.
Nick Harris is abysmal.
I think let's eliminate some teams from the playoffs right now on September 30th.
Officially?
That's fair.
Yeah, let's officially eliminate a couple teams.
That's fair.
Let's do that.
Can we do when we make a clip out of this, can we do this big, boom, eliminated? Yeah. The stamp.
Or we could actually get the guy who does the boom and doom.
Big AJ?
Yeah, he had a fun weekend at FIU.
That's
right.
One of the two.
All right, so let's eliminate some teams right off the rip. The Miami Dolphins without a quarterback, you are eliminated.
No, disagree.
So you're a Huntley guy?
Yeah, I am.
I will be betting I will be betting the Dolphins.
Why Huntley?
What do you mean?
I'm just not, but it's
Pro
not.
Bowler.
His is a bit.
When he was okay.
No, I do really like Tyler Huntley.
Okay.
I think the level of quarterback play for the Miami offense to look good is near zero. I think you're going to see him and Devon Achane run 15 read options a game, and they're the fastest backfield in football. and I think it's going to be difficult to defend against.
Okay.
I think he's going to make some throws to Tyreek Hill, and if Tyreek Hill's getting 6 catches a game, I think he'll score every other game. I think they'll win some games. I think they'll be in the mix.
Any chance Russell Wilson is made available? Because that's a team that I would look at and say, because of that maybe being floated out there, I would keep an eye on Miami. And if you had Russell Wilson in there, are they elite? No, but the AFC's not as good as we thought, at least as we sit here a month in.
What's the Steelers' plan with him?
I don't know.
Because they won't name Fields a starter until he's healthy. And then once he's healthy, if you name Fields the starter, that kills his trade value. So why don't you just trade him now? Is he actually even hurt? Do we know?
No.
Yeah.
Is he just going to secretly retire?
Is he just going to sit out all year and then sign somewhere else next year?
The Danger Witch. Be careful.
Mr.
It's spicy.
Unlimited.
Anyway, continuing on. Patriots eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos eliminated from the playoffs. I'm going to say right now that the Titans are eliminated from the playoffs.
Raiders.
I think the Raiders are eliminated from the playoffs, and I think the Jaguars are eliminated from the playoffs. So outside of that, you have the Colts, you have the Texans, you have the entire AFC North, and then you have the Jets, Bills, Chiefs, Chargers.
I think I'm comfortable with that.
So 10 for 7?
Yeah.
10 teams for 7 spots. Yeah. I mean, and that seems about right. And some of these, like
some of them have
the
one
Raiders.
win.
What'd you say about the Raiders?
We kicked them out.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not in on them. I'm leaning.
When do you switch to AFC? I mean, I know Minshew won the job in the offseason. You had an open competition, and he lost it. But he looked better last year than Minshew's looked so far this year.
I think
excluding that Ravens game.
I think you have to keep Minshew just because they're winning. So until they start losing is when they will switch.
Okay.
The Chargers.
It's just could you have a shot? Maybe.
No.
All right.
The Chargers. What'd you say about them?
Chargers, I've not eliminated them, but do we trust the Los Angeles Chargers to win games this year? I don't think the offense looks good.
I don't know if they're going to ever give Herbert enough time to get healthy.
Yeah.
A high ankle sprain, you need to sit out for 2 or 3 weeks, and they're just never going to give him
At
that
this
time.
point, just sit out. Get a top quality draft pick and just, I mean, when Harbaugh took over, it was never about this. The second that they moved on from Eckler and every single offensive weapon that they had, and Quentin Johnson was the guy you were trying to build your offense around, that right there was signaling, hey, we're not going all in to try to win this year. So trying to win 7 to 8 games does what for you other than give you a, not a great – I mean, it's solid, but you know what I mean? Like, for them, I think they're doing a disservice trying to win, as silly as that sounds.
And walking a $55 million a year quarterback out there with 2 injured tackles on a hobbled ankle is not a recipe I would continue to have.
And the further you keep – and the longer into the season you keep throwing them out there, you risk a season-ending injury that if there's any kind of injury that there's going to be a calendar year worth of rehab involved. Now you're impacting next season as well. I would just don't announce you're shutting him down, but maybe you start doing those behind the scenes decisions as far as that goes. So I'm out on the Chargers because of that. I'm very close to being out on Cleveland. I just don't see it.
They're a couple losses away from
the only reason I'm not is because of exactly what you said when you were talking about you have the pieces, they're just not playing well on defense. And if the defense is fine, how good does the offense have to be?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not out on Cleveland yet.
The problem with the Commanders, or the problem with the Browns right now is that they play the Commanders, Eagles, Bengals, Ravens, Chargers, all up next.
That could get ugly fast.
So
the Jets too, and I love Aaron Rodgers. I love me some Aaron Rodgers, but
Hey, that offense.
the Jets are making me a little worried because I think there's some behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, I'm out of
those
the Jets.
I still feel like it has to be all AFC North teams. And then Houston and Kansas City, in Buffalo. I think there's 3 AFC North teams that make it then you get Buffalo, that's 4. Kansas City, 5. Houston, 6.
I know when the Bengals were 0-3, we said you got to go 10-4 the rest of the way to have a shot.
Yeah.
I think it's 9.
Are we so sure? Are we so sure 9-8 doesn't get you in if you have a good conference record? I'm not saying the Bengals will, because obviously you've already lost to the Chiefs and the Patriots in the AFC. But I'm not so sure a 9-win team doesn't get in the AFC.
My number right now is 9 wins. 9
I think 10
wins.
has you in a great spot.
I think 10 is a lock.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any team with 10 wins that misses the playoffs this season.
If this trend continues, 8 for the final spot isn't that crazy because that's how bad the AFC is.
I don't think so, because then you got to cut out 3 teams then out of those 10, and if you're saying Jets and Browns, who else isn't winning above 500 out of those?
Cleveland
10
and the
teams?
Jets are going to be fighting for that final spot, not in a pretty way.
Okay.
But I mean, and again, That says 1 month in right now, right? Like, and the Bengals are 1-3. That's why when people make a big deal about records, I'm like, well, that's what mathematically keeps you in the playoff hunt. But from a vibe perspective, that's why I joked earlier, not all 1-3s are created equal.
Yeah.
2 1-3 teams in the state of Ohio. One team just got their first win of the season yesterday, and the vibes are completely different than the other 1-3 team in Ohio. So who knows? But AFC not as good as we thought.
100%.
What about the NFC?
I mean, we were talking about multiple 10-win teams being left out of the AFC coming into the season.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked at some of them. I thought the Jets' offense would look better with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, and they've looked fine up until yesterday. But yesterday there was clear miscommunication issues. The Chiefs' offense hasn't looked good. We can only say that so many times. They can go 17-0, and we can say their offense doesn't look good, which makes it a moot point. But I don't know. I haven't been impressed. I've been impressed. The Texans have needed a couple miracle wins, and now mind you, as you and Reed always say, a win is a win is a win is a win. But again, they haven't looked as dominant as we all thought they would.
I've been very vocal about my opinion on Trevor Lawrence. I never imagined the Jags would look this bad.
Horrible.
I mean, they look abysmal.
Horrific. And switching over to the NFC side of things,
I think there's way more over here that are in the mix.
I think so too. I think there's better teams on
the
this
NFC
side.
is way deeper than I thought.
I think they're all a lot closer together.
Okay.
In the NFC.
Okay.
I think the discrepancy in the NFC is much smaller, but I still think the AFC has better teams. If I had to bet right now where the Super Bowl champion comes from, I'd take the AFC.
That's fair. That's fair.
Can you bet conference?
I don't know if you can. I'm sure there is somewhere where you can bet it.
I might have to find that because I feel like right now the NFC would probably be favored. Maybe not Chiefs, or Chiefs are probably just.
That Vikings though 4-0. Vikings look damn good, man. I don't understand the Vikings.
Giants out.
Giants are out.
Panthers out.
Yep.
I think the Rams are out with their injuries.
They don't.
Now.
Yeah, they don't have any help.
I'm not gonna kick the Cardinals out yet, but that defense looks like a problem.
Defense is bad.
Really big problem.
Yep.
Do you want to kick them out?
Let's kick them out.
Okay. I'm not kicking the Bears out. Not at 2-2.
Okay. I'll just let them stay. I think the whole NFC North is alive.
I agree.
think the whole NFC North is alive.
I agree.
I think if you look at the NFC South, I mean we can. I don't buy the Falcons and Saints like you guys do, or Falcons like you guys do. The Buccaneers have looked the best out of those four,
Except for 1 week when they looked the worst.
except for 1 week where they looked the worst. And then the NFC East, you have three legitimate contenders there. But
Yeah. I mean, the Broncos team that just put up 10 points. I mean, granted, they won 10-9, but put an offense that looked terrible, scored 26 on the Bucs.
Yeah.
Bo Nix looked really good. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the NFC South. The NFC West is certainly up for grabs. Update on Christian McCaffrey that he might be mid-November target now.
When you're leaving the country to go get a second opinion, it's not a good thing.
And I'd have a hard time believing it's just a second opinion. I have a feeling when
You're out of opinions in the States.
you can get
Yeah.
a few opinions over here.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't – and Purdy looks more human than he has in a while, and that's with the weapons out there. Devo looked great yesterday, but Ayuk still looks a step slow. At some point with Ayuk, you can't keep pointing back to the holdout. At some point, he might just be struggling a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, so –
Are we at the point now where we're literally having a debate of like Seattle and Minnesota is one of the two best? I mean, who's the best team in the NFC right now?
I think the Vikings are really good. Really good.
We're all in on Sam Darnold?
I was preseason.
yeah, I think you can't be out on them. You can't be out on them. They've trailed for 3 minutes this season, 3 total minutes.
San Francisco 49ers beat writers last year wrote that he is the best pure thrower of the football that they have seen since Steve Young, and everyone killed them. He threw a fade last night or yesterday that hit Justin Jefferson in between the 1 and the 8 before Justin Jefferson got his hands up. And then he just pinned it against his chest, and it was a touchdown.
What is going
he has
on
been
with Sam Darnold?
Incredible.
This is like weird. It is. That's the only thing to describe this. The Baker Mayfield, emergence last year, and to his credit, I said, hey, he's never had great back-to-back seasons. He's off to a hell of a start after a very good season last year too. So like all of a sudden, these two, and ironically enough, from the same draft class with the loaded draft class that included Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, wild draft class that was for quarterbacks as far as that's concerned. And the Lions, that's a team, too, that's going to be there. The NFC, again, the AFC's not as good as we thought. The NFC's deeper than we thought.
Yeah.
But I know teams have yet to start separating themselves yet as far as that's concerned.
I still don't think there's one team that's significantly better than the rest of the league. I still don't think we're there yet. Unless the Chiefs 4-0, again, very, very good. But I think that team is beatable.
What do the Chiefs do, by the way? Your top 2 wide receivers are done for the season. Like Rashee Rice out. Hollywood Brown, again, I'm not putting too much stock there, but that technically was your number 2 receiver coming into the year. He was out before the season started. There's, Amari Cooper's name is being thrown out there as a target for the Chiefs if the Browns, especially if they lose this weekend against the Commanders, could they just all of a sudden make Amari Cooper available, for a draft pick or 2? We'll see what happens there. You have Hopkins out there with the Raiders if their season continues to go the way it is. So who knows? But the bottom line is the Chiefs can't just sit there, and Travis Kelce's not good enough anymore for them to lean into him.
No.
And by not good enough anymore, I don't think he's good at all anymore. I don't know what's happening there. I don't think that's being talked about enough. With all the commercials, with all the Taylor Swift stuff, with everything, I don't think his struggles are being talked about enough.
Well, did you see yesterday before the game, the whole team was wearing Travis Kelce shirts in support of him?
Yeah, I'm not. This is not a bit. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I was driving yesterday, so I missed a lot of pregame stuff. I saw that, and I was looking up. I was like, did he?
Something
Was
bad.
it like a car wreck on the way to the stadium? Like, did he get hurt? And even if he tore his ACL in pregame warm-ups or anything, I'd be like, yeah. He just is old and stinks.
He's old and bad.
And
he looks out of shape.
So everybody had to.
Solidarity with him and his fresh haircut. They wore those shirts.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. One scary name for the Chiefs wide receiver room: Hunter Renfrow.
No.
He's sitting out there as a free agent, and if anyone can make a slot wide receiver that can't do anything but run a wheel route work, Mahomes will make him work.
No.
He's a free agent
They
right
will.
now.
The Chiefs will get somebody, but
Top 2 available free agents right now: Hunter Renfrow and Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas is a free agent right now.
Yeah.
Yep, and he's already out for the first 6 games he plays. So
Is he?
It's just not announced yet, right? That guy's
Oh, yeah,
always
he'll
out.
get hurt.
He's just always out.
I thought you meant he was suspended or something.
No, I know he just.
No, he'll figure it out.
Yeah. There was a stretch where he was the top receiver in football, and then just never became available again.
Most receptions ever in a single season.
People forget.
All right, we close out the radio side of this. When we come back, more Off the Bench next.
The number 4.
All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. How about this over the weekend? I saw this come out. Everyone knows Jeff Passan, ESPN's Major League Baseball insider. Love Jeff Passan. I think he's entertaining as can be. We make so much. So we, Wojnarowski, the Woj guy that retired, and he's now the general manager for St. Bonaventure basketball for their NIL collective. Wojnarowski was the number 1 NBA insider for ESPN. Anything that broke came from him. And I guess I'm confused on what the roles of these guys are, because I always thought that these guys got these roles based on who they knew and their relationships and what they got. But then something happened over the weekend with ESPN's Jeff Passan, according to some of these rumored reports, that I don't understand this whatsoever. Your number 1 NBA insider retires, and now the favorite to replace him, the NBA insider, is Major League Baseball insider, ESPN's Jeff Passan. ESPN's Jeff Passan is the favorite to replace Wojnarowski as the top NBA insider and breaking news guy in the league. So do these guys actually have connections? Do these guys actually know anybody? Or is it when these TV deals get done, it's hey, we're going to give you this $1 billion TV deal, but anytime the league is encouraged to make sure that anything that leaks, you have to leak it to an ESPN reporter first. Is Wojnarowski actually that locked in? Is our guy Adam Schefter, big time fan of the Cincinnati Bengals, is he actually locked in? The way we look at these guys and think, man, no one else knows more than these guys. No one else has as many connections as these guys. How, if you're ESPN's Jeff Passan, the top breaking news guy for Major League Baseball, all of a sudden, within a snap of a finger, do you go to be the main guy for the NBA, and now all of a sudden you're everyone's main contact in the NBA? That to me says I'm not as impressed with these guys as I once was. I always thought it was these guys, their relationship based. This isn't that. It's simple as the network's relationship with the league. I was blown away by this. I love Jeff Passan, but I'm I think we overblow these insider, stereotypes with these guys way too much, because at the end of the day, these guys aren't as locked in as we think. They are just, the league is paying, or the networks are paying the league to feed information to their insider. You could fill in anyone in that spot. It doesn't make any sense.
I think Woj will probably text his group chat with all 100 owners and agents and managers and say, hey, the guy taking my job is this, and here's his number. So just Send it all to him now. Thanks for the last 20 years. Like, I actually do think that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it matters who replaces him. They're going to be fine. It's going to be the same thing, and we're going to come up with a new name like Woj Bombs as soon as we get a new name to do it. So it'll be fine, and I don't think anyone's going to like, everyone's talking about ESPN falling off and, like, not being the breaking news source anymore without Woj. They'll find someone, and we'll all forget about it in 3 weeks.
Yep.
Well, I
major signing.
thought the same thing. I'm like, well, that's a big loss, but I don't think it is anymore.
Right.
And that's a disservice and discredit to them because they're propped up as like, man, no one knows more than that guy. I mean, when he retired, they did this. I thought he passed away. The little weird monologues that everyone was doing, in
Schefter's
remembrance of Woj. I'm like, what are we
Schefter's
doing?
was something.
I didn't see it.
Oh,
Can't shower
Schefter.
without your phone, man. It's a tough life for those insiders to live.
Is that what the joke was?
Oh, he said that
It wasn't a
he gave, like,
joke.
a whole speech about it. It wasn't a joke. He was serious.
Gosh.
Oh yeah.
They were like,
He
no
was
one
like-
deserves it more than him to retire,
like
to finally
front
get his
lines
family
of-
back.
of
Yeah.
War. ESPN insider for the NBA.
So that was embarrassing. And then you find out this, you're going to take your MLB guy and just move him over to the NBA. Again, maybe not a huge deal. It's just something I felt like ranting about.
If
But
I had
thought
to
it was
bet,
odd.
if I had to bet right now, they're just gonna give Shams as much money as he wants to leave FanDuel and just
Probably.
come work for ESPN.
But
'cause-
why? So like Shams is like, it was always him and Woj going back to back,
Yeah,
but I thought it was because it was those two. But it's because FanDuel's paying ESPN to give their main guy the breaking coverage or whatever, and the same thing with ESPN. Why would ESPN go pay Shams all this money to come over when
if
it
you could
sounds
just
like it
grab
doesn't
anyone.
matter?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, yeah, I think it's, and Jeff Passan could be locked in with other sports too. I mean, these, who knows, but there's other things to be worried about.
I will give him credit that once, I'm sure the initial text when you're the insider is, hey, this is the new contact.
Yeah.
And then you do have to work and build relationships with the agents and stuff to get the news first. So it definitely does matter, the relationships those guys actually do have. But, yeah, not as important as I thought, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's, as we wrap up the radio side of this. So the Cincinnati Reds, yes, their season was still ongoing. And it is no longer ongoing. But the Cincinnati Reds, well, their season is complete. There's no more Reds baseball. The only thing we do now is we sit and wait for the mid-tier free agents that the Reds will dangle money in front of once all the big names have been picked apart, of course. And we wait to find out who the next Reds manager is going to be. We talked about that with Marty Brenneman last week. We'll have more from that Marty interview throughout the week, of course. But as we sit here right now, the playoffs are coming up next for Major League Baseball, and another year where we're going to be keeping an eye on the playoffs, talking playoffs, and not talking Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds, of course, wrapped up the season over the weekend. They're officially eliminated from the playoffs. They finished 16 games back in the NL Central. 77 wins, 85 losses. That's how the Redlegs wrap up the 2024 campaign.
It was the worst season I've had to endure as a Reds fan. I'm going to call it the worst. There have been worse seasons in terms of the win-loss column.
Yeah.
But coming into a season, I've never had my expectations and hopes bashed and beaten as quickly as they were this year. It was disappointment from the get-go, and here we are on September 30th. They have 77 wins, which honestly is pretty impressive, given the fact that they'd never had a team. At any point during this season, did the Reds have the roster they thought they would coming into the year? Not one game. So to see them with 77, I guess that's a testament to David Bell, if you want to give him some credit. And to end the season with 3 shutouts, essentially, if you want to call the last game not a shutout because they scored in extras, that's fine. But I'm going to call it a shutout because in regulation, 9-inning games, for the past 3 games, they've been shut out. And that was the story of the offense all year. The offense couldn't get it done. Elly De La Cruz, it was Elly De La Cruz versus the world, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that in baseball. You have to have help, and the Reds didn't have help this year. Hunter Green, Elly De La Cruz, they did their best. Andrew Abbott played okay. Nick Lodolo, when he was healthy, played fine. And then outside of that, the offense wasn't close. So next year, you're gonna have to look at this, and you're gonna have to spend some money, and you're gonna have to fix a lot of this lineup, a lot of it. Matt McClain, I love Matt McClain. I hope he comes back and he's ready to play next year. But am I going to bet on it? Nope. I'm not betting on Matt McClain to stay healthy for a whole season next year. Can't do it. I want it to happen. Probably won't happen. So I'm not going to get my expectations high.
Well, real quick, the question with Matt McClain, too, is, okay, take health out of it. Who is he when he comes back? Because I mean, I think we put a lot of stock into his absence this season as far as like, man, this team is not good because Matt McClain's not out there. We know how good he was as a rookie, no doubt about it. But like, if he plays, which Matt McClain is coming back? Who is Matt McClain? When he comes back, his role is not just the position that he plays, but like, what is a fair expectation for how he's going to contribute to this team? We watched a lot of guys that we had high expectations for this year based on their good rookie campaigns regress and take a step back.
Yep.
And this idea that, well, McClain's just going to come in and pick up where he left off and maybe even be better, I think we've learned from the other guys that had impressive rookie campaigns that that's not fair to just assume that they're going to come back and take a step forward. There's a possibility that he could regress, and that may not be health-related at all. It could just be the natural flow of a Major League Baseball career and putting too much stock into too many young guys early.
I agree with you 100%. I'm just going to, from an optimistic standpoint, I have to believe that he's good. I look at next season. If he's not good,
he has to be an all-star level player.
He has to be good.
Yeah, he has to be an all-star level player.
For my mental well-being, I have to think that he's going to be that player.
Or Marte has to figure it out in the offseason. One of the two.
I'm out on more Reds players than I could have possibly imagined. The outfield needs to be addressed. The right field position needs to be addressed. They have to spend money. They have to spend more money. And you have to buy a couple of guys that can help bolster this. Hopefully Nick Martinez can stay. I'm hoping that they can somehow ink a deal there, but I have a hard time imagining that will happen as well. So a lot to be addressed. This season was a lost year. I don't think if you wanted to say the positive, the negative column, there were a couple positives and a whole bunch of negatives. Disappointing and sad. I hope the new manager can spark what most of this fan base wanted. That's what I'll say. Hopefully the new manager will bring a new life, because unfortunately Freddie Benavides, I don't think was the answer.
Well, I mean, that was silly. And by the way, I see people bringing up the Marty interview from the other day, and Marty didn't make a lot of Reds fans happy on social media. We are saving that debate for tomorrow's show with the LA De La Cruz and the outfield comments and all that stuff. We have that coming up on tomorrow's show, as well as some of the other Reds takeaways, no doubt. But so we're not ignoring that. We will get to that this week as far as that goes. But here's the one thing I'm looking for from the front office. Like, I'm curious when Nick Krall addresses the media, just wrapping up the season and obviously looking forward to what's coming up this offseason. You want to know what I don't want to hear? Like, this is the buzzwords I'm keeping an ear out for. I don't think the struggles this year were all because of injuries. And I think that what they are going to do to protect themselves is they are going to lean into the injury conversation. I think that they are going to heavily lean into, hey, we didn't meet expectations, but hey, we were very banged up. And if you hear that to me says that they are setting you up for, we're not going to make a lot of moves in the offseason. We're just going to sell you on the idea of being healthier, right? Like, and I think that's a dangerous thing, because I know injuries didn't help, but I don't think that's why this team didn't live up to expectations this season. Even the guys, I mean, Spencer Steer played a lot. Ellie played a lot. Like, a lot of guys that are going to be here for a while played a lot. And Ellie was fine, but like, a lot of guys were very inconsistent. A lot of guys didn't live up to expectations. So with that being said, they have to improve at a lot of positions out there, and it's not just getting healthier. If they constantly keep like, I always pay attention to the messaging. Because, there's a PR team that puts together these messages for a reason. What message do they want to tell you? They're going to tell us. To me, in my opinion, if they lean into the injury bit, that means they're warning us they're not going to spend money in the offseason, that it's basically going to be, hey, we're just going to get healthier. And I think that's a scary thing. I hope we don't hear too much injury conversation from Krall and the Reds front office when they put a bow on this 2024 season, when they address everybody.
If I had to guess, how many press conferences do they do across the whole offseason?
Fair enough.
Like 20?
Yeah.
I would put the over-under at 19.5, mentioning injuries.
Yep.
There's no chance that they're not hanging their hat on that, because they're going to make one signing of a bat and one signing of a pitcher, and it's going to be a Candelario and Montas level player, and we're going to try to talk ourselves into some stats and hope that it's enough for the Reds, and maybe it will be. Maybe we'll get healthy and it will be enough. But I think the people, myself included, that are holding their breath now for maybe this is the year that they're finally going to realize they have something and go attack it and go spend money, I think we're going to get hurt really, really bad. So I'm trying to not open myself up to that. But as of right now, I really hope that we go sign somebody, but I just there's too clear of an excuse for them not to. And that's what scares me. They can just point to injuries and say,
yep,
we could make the playoffs if we're healthy. And you can't necessarily say they're wrong, which is the terrible thing about it.
Because last year is their counter-argument.
Right.
You saw last year when these guys are out there, Matt McClain, You know,
We were
Friedel,
one game away.
yeah. So.
And they took a step this year, a lot of them.
But would that be? I guess let me ask you. That was my. We were talking about opinions and facts earlier, right? No, my opinion is I think this team's issue is well beyond just injuries.
I
this year.
100% agree.
So, using injuries as an excuse, I think, is going to be their cop out. Basically, what we've talked about. But how? So you said you 100% agree. How much of the injury pie what percent do we put on the injury excuse for why this team didn't live up to expectations this year? Is that a big enough thing for them to just say, we'll just get healthy and be better next year? And again, another year in the majors for these young guys. Like, that's the big worry I have for this front office.
Yeah,
I think
percentage-wise,
pieces. I mean, percentage-wise, if you had to give blame,
over 50. I would
yeah, it's a majority of this season was because of not ever having a healthy roster. You just can't compete like that. The team that you had designed wasn't the team that we saw not once on the field. Right. So you have to give a rational excuse to that. It's a fair excuse.
Craig makes a good point. He says the David Bell firing tells me that they see that this is a window and New Bell was not good enough to get them there. And I do agree with that.
I hope that's the case.
That is certainly not a Reds move to fire a manager 1 year, less than a year, into an extension and be paying him to not coach the team. That's not a Reds move. That's not a Castellini's move. And that's something that shows that maybe there is somewhat, even if it's small, a little organizational shift.
I think Kroll kind of said that in the press conference when he was firing Bell. I think it was, we thought we had expectations for this season. The Reds did not meet those expectations. The team didn't meet those expectations, and we didn't think David Bell was the guy to take it further. Because I think if you were to sit back and blame injuries solely, David Bell doesn't get fired.
Right.
If you're going to sit back and blame the injuries, David Bell's still here. And you say, what is David Bell supposed to do with an injured roster? Which I would agree with, by the way. But if you're going to fire him, let's go a new direction. Let's try to spend some money, and let's try to win some baseball games next year. Do I have hope? Do I have optimism? Absolutely not. I've been beaten down so much. It's just it's hard to think about the Reds in a positive fashion at this point. You have Ellie. I'm hoping somehow they get a deal done this offseason. Would I bet that they get a deal done? Absolutely not. But I'm hoping if they sign Ellie De La Cruz, then I'll slowly start to be back. I'll slowly get really excited. And obviously, as next season rolls around, I'm always excited because I love Reds baseball. But this season did its toll, man. I stopped watching Reds games 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, right after it was probably right around the Nationals sweep after the All-Star break. This just isn't a team. This just isn't a team that can compete. Because you look at injuries, the Braves lost a lot of guys this year, man. They don't have Austin Riley. They lost Ozzie Albies for a long period of time. Ronald Acuna was gone for a long period of time. Their outfield was beat down. Matt Olson wasn't very good this year. Spencer Strider was lost at the beginning of the year, and they're fighting for a playoff spot in game 161 and 62 today, doubleheader. By the way, that game, I think those games start at 1 o'clock. That'll be electric. But for those of you who don't know, the Braves and Mets had a series scheduled. The Hurricane kind of postponed it. They will be playing today. If either of them sweep the other, then the Arizona Diamondbacks are in with the team that sweeps. If the Braves and Mets split today, those two teams both go, and the Diamondbacks are out.
I do have a question, and if you had an answer for it, I might just be setting you up for failure here. You can't bet the second game yet. Why is that? Do you have any idea?
Well, I think because I could be.
You don't know what pitchers are going to be available.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be situational.
You have to play them both, though.
Yeah,
you have to play both games because that was my first thought: is you don't have to play the second game.
I wonder what it'll be because do you think there would be any sort of collusion here? And
Kirby says the winner of game 1 could throw game 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you think that there would be collusion?
What's the benefit there?
That you both go in saying we're both in right now. I'll win 1, you win 1.
Oh, and they just both shake each other's hand. Oh, I would love that.
I'm just saying, I think that's a legit possibility because that's what it was.
What happened in the NFL game?
The Chargers Raiders.
Wow.
And Brandon Staley, that dumb idiot. Respectfully, I say that with love and respect.
I'm going to put so much money on whoever loses game 1.
Brandon Staley, that dumb idiot.
I'm with love and respect. And this is a comedy thing. I think
that's awesome.
I think there's a legitimate shot that.
He said they aren't actually going to throw the game. They're just going to not use any good pitchers because they don't need to win it, and that makes sense too. But why wouldn't you just shake hands beforehand?
I would. I think there might be. We don't know.
That'd be so cool.
But to end it, the segment's over. Reds next year, hopefully they win more than 77 games.
Let me ask. So
Win
injuries.
total this year 81.5. Let's not act like the expectations were that high.
Well, that's why I'm
Just saying that as well.
I want to
I
ask
had a high
this.
I thought they'd look because
The
last.
expectations in this city were much higher than anywhere else.
I'm okay with missing the playoffs if they look like the team that I thought they'd look like.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
And they didn't look like that team. The identity of the Reds from 2023 was not the identity of the Reds in 2024. It was a completely different ball club.
I'm looking at this. So the final lineup from yesterday's game. And we're talking about injuries. You get, again, you're going to get McClain back. You're going to get Christian Encarnacion Strand back. Pretty much everything else is in place for next year. Like, I don't see where they're going to improve or be willing to improve because Jonathan India, you move on from him. Okay, that's where you bring Matt McClain back. And is Matt McClain going to be better than Jonathan India? We hope. So if I'm looking at this lineup right, I mean, you have this lineup
Matt
right
McClain's not better than Jonathan India. The window's closed.
It's over.
So, like,
So-
yeah.
But, like, so you have Jonathan
We're
India,
on to
LA.
2035.
Yeah, we're on to 2030.
So this lineup right here that we're saying is just so atrocious and not good. Jonathan India, Ellie De La Cruz, Tyler Stevenson, Spencer Steer, TJ Friedel. Those five right there those guys are in the lineup next year. Jonathan India, question mark, of course, right? So then Ty France at first base. That's Christian Encarnacion Strand. Right field, Jake Fraley probably back.
Or a signing at first.
Or what?
A signing.
And
New
that
bat.
would be that would be great. But like and Noelvi Marte at third. So I'm looking at this and I'm looking at from this season perspective, the only different name that could have been back playing, contributing to this is Matt McClain. I don't know how good this team ever was to begin with. We keep saying injuries.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to. The reason I'm bringing this up, I'm not willing to go the injury route because this lineup is pretty full of guys that were expected to be a part of the success this year. And the only guy that's really not out there is Matt McClain and I guess Christian Encarnacion Strand. Outside of that, these are the core guys that we expected to lead this team to compete for the division, and they just didn't. And the pitching didn't take basically take a turn until the last month of the season. These guys were still playing when the pitching was great, and they still weren't winning games. That's why I'm not using the injury excuse. There's a fundamental issue with this lineup right now, and I don't think we're giving these guys enough criticism, saying, "Hey, what the hell's wrong with you guys?" I think we're giving them a cop out with the injury.
Friedel did miss a ton of time.
Noelvi
and
Marte
Noelvi
missed
missed 81 games and has been bad since he came back.
Jake Fraley went on the IL 5 different times this year.
Candelario with his.
But that stuff's going to
arthritis and
happen.
everything.
Maybe not the half a season suspension. You hope that doesn't keep happening, but the injury.
You're not wrong, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Other guys did miss significant time as well, even if they didn't miss the whole season.
We didn't have a starting pitcher for the last month.
But no, that's why I brought up the last month. But even when the pitching was out there, these guys, it's not like it was all meshing all at one time. Even with the great year that, Stevenson had a great year. Ellie had a dominant year, no doubt about it. Steer got it rolling. Friedel had stints, right? I don't know. Interesting offseason coming up. But that wraps it up for us on the radio side. This has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Anyone else's phone have the SOS at the top? Am I the only one?
Do you have Verizon?
Yep.
There is a blackout for half the customers right now for Verizon. I don't
Ooh,
know why.
I'm Verizon. I still have mine.
I'm not Verizon.
Look at you.
Are you connected to Wi-Fi?
I got
Yeah,
a
but it still
message
says
from
SOS at the top. What's that?
I got a message from my mother who said that FYI, Verizon service for half of its customers is out. No phone or text. Sending this now, so when my phone comes back on, you'll know why. I haven't answered anyone today.
So Wi-Fi, I'm connected to here, so I'm getting text right now. But yeah, okay. So it's not just my phone. I was like, did I pay the bill?
Any of your houses get hurt by the hurricane?
That was wild. That was very interesting. So for one, it was a week from hell for me because I lived at the radio station because all 5 of our stations got knocked off air.
Really?
The generator stopped working. I mean, it was just one nightmare after another issue. We'd get one fire put out, not actual fires, but we'd get one fire put out and then a new problem would pop up and then wake up today to go right to work, So right back at it. But no, that was a wild week. The trees down everywhere. I saw Reed post one. That was a big-ass tree. It basically blocked off
Massive.
the entire road.
Yeah,
but what about you guys?
Our yard looks like a mess now. There's just a bunch of we live out kind of in there's like a wooded area by our house, and all those woods, the leaves are just all over our house, leaves and branches, but nothing, no damage or anything like that. We got lucky that in that way. But my buddy, his entire street there's a massive tree that fell in the street, knocked off power lines. They still don't have power.
Yeah, there's a lot of people with that. That's wild. That's why. Everyone here have power. Everyone good
Yeah.
with the power. What about you, Casey? Outside of the SOS on your phone.
I didn't have any issues with any of the electricity. Some of my neighbors, they had some issues. They had some lines come down. I don't know how I didn't experience any issues because it felt like that was a main connecting line that connects all of our places, but it wasn't. Thank goodness. Thought about going out there and committing insurance fraud, shoving a branch through my roof, but I didn't do that.
You didn't.
Good to say
It just-
live
it
on
just-
no show.
But he didn't.
But I
So it's-
didn't. But I didn't do
He
it.
didn't.
Now you never can because they're going to find that clip.
Oh yeah,
That would be
sure.
a brutal clip in
I'm
court.
sure Allstate's gonna find that clip.
They will.
Oh, no. They absolutely will.
Oh, they
if
will.
you ever make a claim.
Oh,
Especially when they find out what you do.
They
They'll just
find
comb
anything.
through hours
Oh,
of
yeah.
the show.
Now there was a branch that actually went through my. No, I'm just kidding.
Just like also.
Prayers, dude, to you and your family during that tough time. But nonetheless, so I was thinking about you over the weekend, Jacob, because like you're all jacked up about this game, and we see this weather system from hell that's just making its way through all over pretty much where you were. But it didn't look like in any of the videos pics you took. Was it pretty dry?
Didn't rain once. It was beautiful. Yeah. No, the drive was miserable Friday. Drive down, it was 20-mile-an-hour winds, pouring rain. I pulled over for a little bit because it was raining too hard. I couldn't see, and then tried to drive a little bit more. Yeah, it was a horrendous drive, but had to get there. Spent a little too much money on a ticket to pull over for some rain. So we powered through and made it down, and then it spit a little bit on Saturday morning, and it was beautiful the entire day and the entire weekend. So, yeah, we got really, really lucky. So, yeah, it was great weather the whole time.
Is that the best game you've ever been to? Georgia, Alabama?
That game, I was at the Iron Bowl last year.
Okay.
The 4th and 26th, and I was at the AFC Championship where the Bengals beat the Chiefs. Those are my top three by a wide margin right now, and I think that Georgia game's the best.
We talked, I think, last week about all the games we've been to live. I haven't been to enough to even make a list. I can't. I've seen Ohio State play.
I had to redo my top 10.
Yeah. I've seen Ohio State play, Florida Atlantic. Nothing good there. Like I've said, I've never been to a good game. I've never gone to watch a premier match.
I was at the 2016 Ohio State-Michigan overtime Curtis Samuel touchdown.
Oh, with the prance in
I was
the
sitting
end zone.
in that end zone
God,
that he ran it.
man.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. No, I've worked up. Been very lucky to go to a lot of very cool games.
One better at Caesars Sportsbook. In Vegas,
you saw this? Yeah.
Wagered $80,000.
Oh, no.
This is a different one. Wagered $80,000 in game on Alabama money line minus 5,000. It was probably at the half.
Yeah, up 30-7.
So they were up 30-7. They obviously Georgia took the lead. $80,000 bet. You want to bet how much he profited on an $80,000 wager?
Like, what was it? Minus 10,000? Like
Minus 5,000.
minus 5,000.
He won $1,600
And he had to sweat.
and had to pray. He had to pray. $80,000 to win $1,600.
So I just saw one from DraftKings that they shared on theirs where it was this guy cashed a 300-1 live bet on Georgia team passing yards, which was he took the over 300 passing yards. So then they shared the video of when they finally clinched that. A $10 bet got him $3,000. He won $3,000 off a $10 bet. Now, that's a good weekend.
That's incredible. Yeah, the best part about driving down was driving through the beautiful states of Kentucky and Tennessee where you can place college player prop bets. And they hated to see me coming because I took them by in the woodshed this weekend, fellas.
Good weekend? Did it pay for your trip, basically?
Plus 1,300. Jalen Milrow, 50 rushing yards. Alabama money line. Jalen Milrow, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Milrow, 220 passing yards. Justice Haynes rushing. Jam Williams rushing. Ryan Williams receiving. All hit. I'm a god. Well, I need to pass some laws so I can start making money gambling. Because not being able to bet on college player props is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Yeah, that's tough. I almost won some money too on Bengals. Just needed Andy Dalton to get like 10 more yards.
Ooh.
That was a tough one to lose.
I parlayed Yoshi and Jamar Chase into anytime touchdown, and Jamar got it early. I was really excited. I thought Yoshi was going to get me, but nope. It's the second time I've had a bet where the Bengals could have won me $400 this season, and I didn't get it. The Chiefs game, it was just money line, and yeah, that didn't work out very well. But
the only other
I
one
know you guys are really sad about that.
I'm
sure
sad.
No, I want the Bengals to win you money at some point. So then you'd have to be like happy about him when you come in.
I mean, I was ready to hoo-day it up against the Chiefs, but then that bum quarterback of yours lost the game, right? Like, no. But, yeah, and then yesterday, Yoshi, I thought for sure. But every time they got in the red zone, it was just handed it off to Chase. So, nonetheless. But, look at that. It's noon. We're out of time.
Special.
We're out of time. Tomorrow, a lot more college football. A lot of great college football action over the weekend. Cincinnati. The Bearcats also cost me money. That's frustrating.
A bit of money line. They covered.
I included them in a
technically
parlay money line.
Sorsby, top 10 PFF college quarterback now.
Sorsby looks great.
Yeah, he's number 8.
Sorsby looks great.
Man, he's gonna.
Defense
Is he
looks
gonna
terrible.
redshirt himself? Is he gonna
He
redshirt?
Oh, it's too late.
It's too late now.
It's too late now.
Is it? Oh, it's past week 4. Yeah, it's week 5, isn't
They
it?
played 4.
Anyway. All right, well, that wraps it up for us until tomorrow. This has been Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. I know I made a lot of friends today, so I'm not going to get away. We'll do this again tomorrow. I'll be a little nicer when I get more sleep.